Welcome back. You know what it is. Welcome back to another episode. Another episode. What is this? It's amazing, of course. Duh. Yeah. Spider-Man. Look at the thwip. Or is it too sweet? I'm Jim.
I'm Eric.
Today we're going to talk about The Irishman. This movie was 3.5 hours long.
He's already starting.
I can't help it. Stars Robert DeNiro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, directed by Martin Scorsese. It has Ray Romano, Harvey Keitel. This movie is loaded, which is why Paramount passed on it. They didn't want to produce it because they knew it was going to be too expensive to do. Netflix said, I don't care, we got buku money. Here you go.
They just throw it away. I mean, look at Adam Sandler getting all those deals.
This movie is about Jimmy Hoffa, but this movie is really about Frank Sheeran, who is a
not related to Ed.
Just thinking out loud. He's a war vet or a military vet, and he's come home and now he's part of the Teamsters Union, and he gets swept up into the life. You know,
he's like a meat delivery truck driver.
Around Pittsburgh, that area. He becomes part of Jimmy Hoffa's world, right, who's the president of the Teamsters Union, who people loved and were crazy about him, and one day went missing, and we still don't know what happened to him. But in this movie, they do tell you. So let's talk about the good.
Let's do it.
I thought the acting in this movie was phenomenal. I mean, you give me Al Pacino or Robert De Niro any day, except The Righteous Kill.
I thought Pesci was pretty good in this too.
I thought Pesci was phenomenal.
It wasn't
because he was dialed back.
Yeah, it wasn't his over the topness.
Yeah.
It was just Joe Pesci playing in this not typical role. But
yeah.
This Italian role.
The moments you got Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, and you get them a lot in this movie.
Like, people used to complain, even the movies they were in together, they didn't have a lot to do with each other.
Well,
enough to do
Godfather
with each other.
2, they're not, it's Michael Corleone, and Robert De Niro plays Vito when he's not a kid, but like a young adult. And then Heat, which is also a long movie, only has the one scene where they're together, essentially. And I liked how they looked de-aged. It wasn't...
Yeah.
It wasn't strange to look at, and I think it looks better than some of the CGI we get.
Even in, like, MCU CGI.
Yeah. I mean, I love Black Panther, but that waterfall was trash.
CGI'd Leia, or...
Oh, you Grand Moff Tarkin? Yeah.
Which, that one was actually phenomenal.
Martin Scorsese did a really good job filming in a style that he's not necessarily accustomed to, because he's having to use a camera with 6 different lenses, or however many lenses it is, because now they have this, the CGI coupled in, because they've tried to make this movie for like 10 years. Al Pacino's 80, Robert De Niro's in his late 70s, Joe Pesci, they're all old now, and they're having to play.
Pesci now looks like he should in The Irishman.
At the end. I still wouldn't want to fuck with him, though. And you know what I like? Is that they show what happens to Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah.
And you might say,
they give you a conclusion to it, pretty much.
Which they don't normally do in movies like this. You don't necessarily really know what happened, because you don't. But this isn't, the perspective of me and you. This is from Frank Sheeran. This is The Irishman. And he said this is what happened, and that's what you get. And whether you believe it or not is up to you. Fat Damon in this as well. I feel like they're just going to think we're fat shaming, but... Oh, God. You guys know where the weight room is, or...
I thought it was nice to have a conclusion to the whole Hoffa story. Phenomenal actors. They did pretty great jobs in this movie. But, I mean, you get them and Scorsese together, that's pretty much what you're going to get.
Recipe for, Italian greatness. You ready to talk about the bad? I'm ready to talk. Let's talk about the bad.
Come on.
We're going to talk about Anna Paquin.
Not enough.
They didn't... Okay, Anna Paquin, that was fine. They didn't give her any lines. People were complaining about that.
Didn't she have some?
At the end. She did.
I mean, very few.
But that was... I think that's what he was going for, because she didn't want him to be about that life.
Yeah.
And she could recognize that. And that's why she never was close to Joe Pesci. even though he was really nice to her and really kind, she recognized what world he was pulling her father into. And Jimmy Hoffa, even though he was part of that world, she didn't necessarily feel that same way about him, because he was, what's the word? Burn, when's it my turn? Oh, we could, when she did deliver the line, because, they're talking about Jimmy Hoffa missing on TV, and it hits her, and she knows that he has to do with it. She knows it.
Oh, yeah.
And she says that to him, and I think it is impactful because she didn't have any lines throughout the movie.
So you mentioned the length of this movie. That's one of the big issues I had with it.
I think it had more length than Johnny Depp. Porn star, check it out.
Like, it was a 3.5-hour movie. It felt like a 5.5-hour movie. I kept checking my watch and my phone, like checking the time, checking the internet, whatever, because it felt like it was taking so much longer to watch this movie. Like, I swear it took 6 hours to watch this movie.
The end felt long for me.
I mean, I tried to immerse myself into it, but it just drags on so much.
Jimmy Hoffa dies with like 40 minutes left in this movie.
Yeah.
Which
like,
is...
that's supposed to be the pinnacle of this movie.
Yeah.
And then you still have this much after it.
I think he's just trying to have these old men reflecting on their lives, and I think that's more where he was going for the end, and that fell a little flat for me. No, you're good, you. Don't say they weren't there. They killed... They said that they killed Kennedy. Who Jimmy Hoffa hated.
Oh, so much.
I love that. I felt like the music didn't necessarily mesh well, and I think that was a main component for me.
It didn't really mesh well, and when there was the music, it just didn't really give you that hype like a lot of music tracks do in these types of movies.
Yeah.
Like, their performances were a little flat in some spots. Granted, they're aged now. They're
seasoned.
They're old. Let's just throw it out there. You guys is old. Especially when he goes and guns down the other mobster guy.
Maybe because he had the most physical stuff to do.
Probably. And he was real clunky in all of it. Now, I get he's old. But you couldn't, like, get a good enough body double to move like that. I mean, he's like...
Well, you know what happens. You get what you fucking deserve! Murray. How would you score The Irishman?
How would I score it?
Write down the score lines, boo-boo.
I mean, it was a good movie. For what it's worth, I enjoyed it. But I didn't love the movie. It was alright. I'd give it a 7. Flat 7.
I'd score this movie a 9, a point, a 5. Big up to the Italianos. Oh. It just brought me back to really enjoying, like, movies. For me, that's always just, and maybe I'm biased, of course I am. Did you see The Irishman? If so, we want to know what you thought about it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was too long? Did you watch it in spurts? Or did you watch it all at once? Did you watch it multiple times? I did. As always, thank you for all the new subscribers. I can't even name you all. Deborah Lee, Matt Baker. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and as always, we'll check you out next time. Only on Rounds of the Night's Tale. There's no table anymore. It's outside. Peace.